Hello and welcome back. This week we're going to look at the New York City Mighty Metro route for the route recon. Let's get right into some footage. As you can see here again, we've sped up the footage quite a bit. 20-kilometer course, there's 317 meters of climbing across the course, and the categorized climb on the course is the reverse KOM. That being said, there's a lot of kind of punchy parts to this course, real steep, short gradients that you'll have to deal with. The beginning of the course is reasonably flat though, and I would expect pretty high speed through here to try to break up the course and get any of the climbers out of the front group before getting to any of the actual climbs, because the punchers or pure climbers will have a significant advantage going into those climbs. Because the punchy climbs are going to be the selection points on this course, I would also suggest running a climber spike. You can see there that I'm on the Trek Madone. I would not run this bike in an actual race. I would go for the Amonda or a Tarmac with the NV wheels. You can see that we have a couple short, steeper descents that you can kind of get into a quick super tuck on before we finally get onto this first climb. So this first climb, you can see it's hitting 10%. It's not actually too long, it's only about 800 meters, 7% average grade going all the way up here. But it's a really good attacking point for people to start making this selection and breaking up the group. You can see as this climb goes up, the gradient leveling off a little bit more. So most of the splits that you'll see will probably come closer to the bottom. And then again at the top, you'll see it spikes up. But if you are able to make a catch to another group in that middle section where it's a little more flat, you need to make sure that you have enough to stay with them as you come over the section where it spikes up again at the end before leveling off, which it should do here in just a couple seconds. And you see here it's leveling off again. It's not too long before you're into a pretty steep descent that you can super tuck down, so you can get a good recovery on the way down from this climb before you hit right here where it's going to spike again. And these repeated punches are going to be a really good place for the pure climbers to break up the group, get away, and cause all kinds of smaller groups to form on the road. I would suspect that a breakaway group will have a pretty good chance at winning this course, and usually it's, at the very least, a very reduced bunch sprint, as you can kind of attrition out a lot of riders. If you're a lighter rider, it's a really good idea to push up those short climbs and drop as many sprinters as you can. You can see here that you get into another super tuck section where you can get some recovery after those steep climbs, but you do have to be aware that, again, as you can see now, we're on another really steep incline and it just kind of keeps happening. There's a lot of short sections that you can super tuck on the descent, and then a really hard increase in effort. And you can really break down people going up those short descents by getting into the tuck. You can see here now that we're on another flatter section of the course. After the rolling hills that you've just gone over, I would expect this to be a bit of recovery. You'll see that we, again, have more rolling hill through here. It doesn't get as spiky as some of the other parts that we've seen already, and that's why I would expect that you'll get a little bit of recovery as you go through there and in preparation for this climb. Now you'll see a KOM banner start there, showing you that it's about a 3 to 4 minute effort. This isn't actually the climb that you're going to be taking though. As you get up here and the climb levels off, you're going to take a right-hand turn and start the reverse climb. right there. This is another roughly 2 to 3 minute effort. So overall, you're still looking at about 4 minutes for your total climb time. And it is pretty steep. It's 1.1 kilometers long on once you're onto the actual climb, but there is about 500 meters before that where you're on the forward climb instead of the reverse. It's about 6 to 8% average gradient, but it does spike up quite a bit here. You see we hit 10, 9%, and it levels off in the middle, which really kind of reduces that average gradient to make it look like it's a lot easier than it is. And again, this is why I would say choose a climber's bike and wheel set for this course, because these climbs are where the course is going to be broken up. It's going to be broken into smaller groups, and having the lighter setup is going to be beneficial. Once you get through that KOM banner, there is quite a long descent afterwards that if you time well, you can super tuck down 90% of it until it levels out. It does level out a couple times in the middle, but you can have a short effort to kind of maintain your speed before getting back into super tucks again. And you can get a pretty good recovery on those descents before it levels off in the section that we're on right now. Because of the difficulty of the climb, normally this becomes a kind of slower portion on the course. Most people will be looking for recovery, but it can also be a good place for those that are still feeling reasonably fresh to attack again and further break up the group, put some more pressure onto the riders, and try to reduce it even more. And you'll see here that we get back into a pretty steep descent, but it doesn't last long enough to really be super tuckable as it gets back onto the flats. And we kind of have this more rolling terrain again. Pretty short, steep climb here. It's only about 6 kilometers to the end of the course right now. And for that reason, that climb can be used as kind of a final selection point to try to gap more riders before we head off of the glass roads there in the sky. As we come off, you see we hit another steep hill here. If you maintain your speed pretty well coming off of the sky road, you can get up and over that pretty quickly and get into the super tuck coming down the other side before it levels off here again into reasonably rolling terrain. There's no real high pitches anymore. There is some that get up into the yellow 4 or 5%, maybe 6%, but nothing going red. And it usually levels off pretty quickly. So if you can keep in your groups through this section, it'll really help your average speed as you kind of roll through together and are able to maintain more momentum. Now, as we come into the final 2 kilometers on this course, or 1.5 kilometers on this course, there is quite a bit of descending, so the speed does tend to pick up quite a bit. As you will see here, we're on about 1%, 4%, and we're going to take a left-hand turn here, go down a pretty steep descent. Speed can pick up pretty easily, then it'll level out again before we start the final climb. And once you're on that climb, right after that descent, you're going to need to just keep the power down. It's 300 meters to the top. It is a pretty long way to sprint if you're going to be going for that sprint banner. So up to you. You can either try to stick into your group and sprint later on the climb. Just be aware that it is 300 meters to the sprint finish, uphill. The gradient on that section is about 6%, so you'll need to time it pretty well. Good luck with your races, and as always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them below. If you don't want to miss any more Route Recon videos, Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you again next week.